Welcome children. Today it's a history lesson. What is history? History is one of the many subjects you learn in school. What do you learn in history? In history we always learn about the past. The kings and queens, their armies, how they administered their kingdom, how was the day-to-day activities in their kingdoms, how did the kings look after the welfare of their people, how were things on in those times. All these are related issues about which we discuss in history. So history is a systematic study of the past. Why should we learn about the past? Learning about the past, learning about our forefathers, learning about the style of life they were leading then, all this will make us very clever in attacking the problems that we face today. We will be able to solve many of the issues in the light of the past. So history is a subject which is of great potential in solving many of the issues of the present. How do we solve them? We solve the issues, or we try to solve them in the light of the past. How did they live? How did they solve? How did they counteract? How did people live happily in those times, even when science had not advanced to the extent it has advanced now? Were they happy? What is it that has robbed our happiness today? Lots of such issues are there to be discussed. But today, in learning history, in learning about the past, science too has come to our aid. Science helps us a lot in knowing the past. We will discuss about that at almost the end of this lesson. Now let us see, how do we write history? We write about Mughals, we write about Mauryas and Guptas, we learn about Indus Valley civilization, the British arriving in India, taking over India into their possession. All these aspects we study in detail in history. Maybe you are in lower classes, you may not go to that extent of learning, but you learn tidbits of everything. You try to focus on the entire historical aspect of India. Again, a country like America has about 400 years of history. Only about 400, 500 years of history. We do not know anything before that. But India has about 7,000 to 8,000 years of history. We have recorded history of about 7,000 to 8,000 years. So that's the difference. Most of the European countries do not have a very long history. But countries like Japan, China, India, Egypt, Mesopotamia, that is the present Iran and Iraq, they have very long history. Okay, what are the sources of history? What is a source? In the school we have library. When we have some doubt, we go to the library and refer books. Or nowadays you go to the internet and ask the questions and get your doubts cleared. Now to write history, what is it that enabled our historians, writers, write about the past? So lots of sources of history have helped them. What are these sources? Let us take examples. To write about Shah Jahan, Taj Mahal helps you a lot. When you go and have a look at Taj Mahal, or when you see the pictures of Taj Mahal and the splendor of it, you exactly know what sort of king he was. He loved art. He loved culture. He gave a big impetus to the development of art and culture in India. Shah Jahan's name will remain forever because of the Taj Mahal he got constructed in memory of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal. So it throws light even on their family life. How much did he love his wife? How much of respect he had for his wife? Okay, it's one example. Now we have another example here. You have some coins. Certainly these coins are not of the present. These are gold coins. A coin of this kind may cost around 2 lakhs now, or more than that. A thick gold coin may cost around 2 lakhs. These gold coins pertain to the period of Samudragupta. You have to go back by about 2000 years again. He ruled India. He was a great king, a great emperor. There was peace in India at this time. Hardly he fought wars. He was a very good administrator. And that period of Samudragupta, even today the historians call it as the golden period of Indian history. You didn't have foreign invasions. Everything was quite cool enough for people to lead a pleasant life. During his period, he had gold coins. You need some currency for trade and commerce. And the currency Samudragupta had in his empire, they were gold coins. You can make out how rich the empire was. Today we have paper currency. We use notes. By handing over a particular note to the shopkeeper, you ask for the goods, merchandise. Then they were using gold coins. These gold coins are getting procured as they dig earth in different parts of North India, and we come to know where all Samudragupta's empire had spread. It's a huge empire from Afghanistan to Burma. The kind of architecture on these engraving on the coins tells us the ability of the artisans then to draw and get such beautiful gold coins made. Metallurgy, how much it had advanced, you come to know. The molding, how were they molding them? Their sense of balance and proportion in drawing them. In no way these are inferior to the present engravings. We Indians have to be proud of this. I gave you 2 examples. One of a monument built by Shah Jahan in memory of his wife. A monument. Here you have coins. These 2 examples are enough for us to know how sources of history can help us, enable us to write history. So in this period, we will try to know more about such sources. There are different kinds of sources. They are all divided into literary sources and archaeological sources. When I say literary, you mean in the form of books, written down. The stories then were written down, maybe on palm leaves, or on rocks, or maybe on metals. Anything that can last long on such substances when you draw. Even if you make one of a plaster of Paris and write something pertaining to your family on that and get it dried up very well. You get an edict made in your own house. You can fix it in the wall and say, for future generations, this will tell about the previous generations. That becomes an edict. You have got everything engraved on a plaster of Paris material surface and you have got it fixed. So such engravings too helped a lot. Written and oral. Again you divide literary sources into two types, written and oral. What are written sources? Especially books, documents written then, records written, or the kind of documents the king maintained, the ministers, the officers there in the court, courtiers, they used to write. Maybe it may be in praise of the king, or maybe a huge, iconic festival held in the kingdom, or maybe the good virtues of the king. How did he help the poor? How much did he love the people? So everything is written. There used to be poets, sometimes they used to exaggerate even. Whatever it be, there will be some amount of truth in it. That is for the historians to weigh and balance and find out how much is truth and how much is exaggeration. Whatever it be, these written documents very, very important. Again, these documents, though they were written by great authors of that period, they can be divided into two. Native authors, poets and poetesses of this soil, and those who had come from abroad, foreign. Now let's see a few books I have enlisted here just to know how this recorded history helped historians to write about India. Kautilya, you might have heard his name. He was also known as Chanakya. He was there in Chandragupta Maurya's kingdom. He was his great guru and minister. Chanakya or Kautilya, he was the guru of Chandragupta Maurya and he was his minister. Chandragupta Maurya was the son of a maid in the court. Son of a maid. Chanakya saw that boy playing in the ground. He felt he has innate potential in him to become a king of the country. He molds him, trains him, prepares him, and ultimately Chandragupta Maurya, he ascends the throne and becomes one of the greatest kings this nation had seen. Chandragupta Maurya, it was his minister. He was a great politician, a great philosopher. Chanakya himself could have become the king. He did not become king. He made another person the king and made him rule. That's why we consider Chanakya as an unselfish man. He did not have anything pertaining to his self. Okay, those things you will study when you study about Mauryas. Mauryas, Guptas you learnt now. Their golden coins. Mauryas here. Mauryas and Guptas, they were almost of the same period, one after the other, successive generations. Kautilya, he wrote Arthashastra. Even today, those who study philosophy, political philosophy, philosophy pertaining to the governance of a state, you learn from Arthashastra. Even in foreign universities, Arthashastra students learn. Arthashastra written by Kautilya, he says, what should be the nature of a king? How should he behave? What are do's for him and what are do nots? What are the vices? How should he keep himself pure? What should be his daily routine? What kind of life he should lead? How should he treat his enemies? How should he keep control on the people? All these are discussed in detail in his Arthashastra. They are in many volumes, not one book. More than 2000 years ago, Kautilya lived on this soil, and his story is very interesting as to how he ended the Nandas. Nandas were very corrupt. Navanandas, there were nine brothers. They were hopeless people. The rule of the country was in their fist. So, on one day, the Navanandas insulted Chanakya, and Chanakya decided to end their rule That's how Chandragupta Maurya comes to the throne. It's a beautiful, interesting history. Now that's the assignment to you. Find out the history of Navanandas and Chanakya, read it. You come to know more about Chanakya. They have come in the form of beautiful illustrated comics too. You get stories. Even on the internet, if you say Chanakya story or Chandragupta Maurya, you come to know about Chanakya. Kallana, he wrote Raja Tarangini, another great book. Mainly, here you have books wherein they have not exaggerated the rule of their kings. Only such authors have been chosen here. Some have written in praise of their king. Some were highly balanced. They did not praise the king, nor they pooh-poohed the king. They told only what is truth. Chand Bardoy is from Prithviraj Chauhan's period. Prithviraj Chauhan was a Rajput, a great emperor of Delhi. So he wrote about Prithviraj Raso's period, his reign. Pampa, reign, it is not R-A-I-N, reign. When I say reign means rule, R-E-I-G-N. R-E-I-G-N, reign means rule of a king. So reign of Prithviraj Raso. The other rain is R-A-I-N, what pours from the clouds, that rain. Pampa is from Karnataka. Ranna, Pampa had written Vikramarjuna Vijaya, a great work. Banabhatta, he wrote Harsha Charita. You can make it out. It is Harshavardhana's rule. How did Harshavardhana rule? Another great king the Indian subcontinent had seen. They almost ruled the entire country. It was a united country then. Vishakadatta, he wrote about Mudra Rakshasa. Now some of these are great books. They have got even translated into English. In English, all these books are available in English. Those, they were written in Prakrit, Sanskrit or local languages. Later on, historians got them produced in English, such that the entire world can read and understand what essence these books have. See, these are books brought out by natives. Many are there. Hundreds of such books are there. These are selected ones, I told you. The list will not end up with this. You find out. See, Kalidasa's Meghaduta. But Meghaduta doesn't have much about any king's rule. It's a story. But as he wrote the story, the comparisons, the distinctions and the narrations he gave all pertain to that period. So we come to know how did people live in this society then as you read about Meghaduta, the ashram vasa, the gurukuls, how did students go and study there, all these you come to know. Now, foreign. How can foreigners write about reign in India, king's reigns in India? Foreign rulers, they sent their ambassadors here. When they heard about India, heard about the great kings here, they used to send their ambassadors. Go to India, find out what is great there. People speak of it, especially traders who go to India, they come with great narrations about India. Go find out, I want an exact report of the conditions there, the routines there, they used to send. Even from Europe they came. Alexander was the first ambassador king who came to India. Alexander from Greece. Okay, let's see Megasthenes. Megasthenes was a Greek who comes into picture after Alexander. Megasthenes comes to India, doesn't go back. He stays in this Maurya's court. In Maurya's court, and he writes Indica. The word Indica says about India. He writes a book on India. Some of them were not able to see India from the angle of Indians. Whatever it be, they made a sincere effort to write about India. So it is an immense volume, a great volume that gives us lot of information about that period. Megasthenes Indica. Indica means India. Ptolemy, you might have heard his name, Ptolemy. In science we come across. He did lot of research about solar system. He could not come out with the right conclusions. Whatever it be, he made an attempt to understand what the solar system is. Ptolemy comes to India. He draws the geographical map of India, the extent of India. He tries to draw the map of India. A great job Ptolemy did, and he writes a book, Geography. It was Geography of India, he writes. See, all the scientific advances were absent then. They did not have the backup of science, but still they could write, they could produce, they could contribute to the society. All an account of 2000 years ago. Then Farishta, Babur. Babur wrote Tazki Babri. Mughal ruler. Babur was the first Mughal ruler who established Mughal Empire in India. He ruled from Delhi. He came from abroad, came from Afghanistan. After coming to India, he did not feel like going back. He felt, I should build up an empire here and stay here. After Babur, you have Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, one after the other, all the Mughals ruling India. So, Farishta next. Tariq-e-Farishta, they are all ambassadors, they came as ambassadors. Faiyan, another ambassador to India. When we study about those kings, we come to understand in detail about these. He wrote Gokok-ki. Huan-Sang comes from China. Chinese emperor sent him to India to know about India. What's great about this country, we will know. Huan-Sang came and he wrote Siyuki. They stayed here for years to write. See, all these are written literary sources that help historians to write history. See, many times people think history, oh, what people write about the past is history. It can't be. Those days are gone. Today, to write any sentence in history, any sentence that attributes to history, you need documentary proof. You need evidence. You cannot write a cock and bull story. As we tell stories to children, we do no cock and bull story. For everything, you need documentation. You need record. You need evidence. You need proof, without which you cannot write history. That's why scholars who have to write theses on history, they have to go and study the remnants, the ruins, the monuments, the currencies. All these have to be studied in detail to have a knowledge of these. Now we come to oral. This is the written part, this is oral. Though historians do not lay too much of emphasis on orals, we cannot say orals cannot be considered. If you want to know about Kittur Rani Chennamma, you go to Kittur and Belgaum area in Karnataka, in villages they sing in praise of Kittur Rani Chennamma. They sing ballads, they sing songs, they sing and dance. Mysore Wadeyars, if you go to Mysore area, you hear ballads on Mysore Wadeyars. How did they help the poor? How were the gods who had descended to the ground from heaven? People used to speak in praise because they were all benevolent kings. What do you mean by benevolent kings? They loved people. They loved people. They loved so much that they never felt kings are a separate, and these people are a separate enterprise. They saw their pleasure in the pleasure of the people. They wanted to keep their people happy round the clock, throughout the year. Oral parts, folk stories. In villages, the traditional way of looking at history, people sing, people dance, they go from house to house telling about the past. They are folk stories, folk songs in the form of songs. They sing, entertain people, they tell about the past again. You have two great warriors in Dakshina Kannada, South Kannada. They were Koti and Chennaya. Even today, people sing in their praise Koti, Chennaya. What was their contribution? The Chitradurga rulers, we hear about there. Bangalore, if you go to Bangalore, in rural areas, they sing in praise of Kempegowda, one who constituted and established Bangalore to start with. To begin with, it was a small village. But Kempegowda decided to build it up. His dream has come true. Today it is a city which is acknowledged all over the world as a Silicon City. It was planted, sowed, the seeds were sown by Kempegowda then. He felt this is a place where I can build a town, a city, and he started off. Today it has paid rich dividends. We have nearly 1.5 crore people in Bangalore. It's a big city known for computers. Legends, long stories. Kittur Rani Chennamma it may be, or the Wadeyars of Mysore, or some of the Nawabs in North Karnataka. If they have done service to the people, people sing in praise of them. And even after their reign, the kingdom get passed on to somebody else, people won't forget. From generation to generation, these ballads, legends, stories, songs, they get passed on. So ballads are beautiful song pattern built on the story of a person or an event. So ballads almost all over India, ballads have become one of the sources of history. You write down the ballads, what they sing, and then you go through, you judge what is true and what is not, and ultimately after getting enough inputs from various other angles and ascertaining the truth of it, these facts are taken note of. Now, this is all what we discussed now so far was all about literary sources. Literary. What do you mean by literary? Literature source. What is written down or what is told by somebody and has got passed on from generation to generation. These are all in the form of words. It needs language. Now there are things which do not need language. You just see it. Taj Mahal, one need not explain. You go to Taj Mahal, you get absorbed. You just look all around and you wonder the beauty of Taj Mahal on the banks of river Yamuna. You feel jealous of that beauty. Jealous in the true sense I am saying. Oh, what a construction. Today we are not in a position to construct such a beautiful monument. Archaeological sources, monuments, forts, currencies or palaces, all these come under anything you build out of stone and rock, they all become a part of the archaeological sources. We preserve them. The government of India has vowed to preserve them all. Officers are there appointed by the government to look into the repairs, maintenance of these monuments. They are all declared as national monuments. They are the pride of the nation. They are the wealth of the nation. They are items of great importance built by the kings and queens of those days. So as the present generation, we have the most important responsibility on our shoulders to see that these monuments are preserved for future generations, because they too have to see and understand, see and know what were our ancestors. How did they dwell upon? Archaeological sources can be divided into 4 parts. First one, inscriptions. Second one, coins. Third one, monuments. Fourth one, other ruins. All other ruins which we cannot cover here. We will take up the first one, engraved writings on stone, rock, metal, ivory of elephants, danta, terracotta and other materials that last longer. You can't write on sand. It won't remain for the next day even. They have to be strong materials which can last for a long time. So, those which can withstand the test of time can be used to write the history. It may be about the king, it may be about some festival, temple festival, or some particular act which made the entire kingdom very proud, or a war or a battle fought by the king and number of soldiers participated, how did things go on, horses, elephants and cavalry, all these you go on explaining there, and that becomes an edict that's put up at a key place on the wall of the fort or on the wall of the palace, or another huge construction is put up in order to remember that battle. So on stone, rock, metal, ivory, this is on copper plates. On the copper plate you get everything engraved and put it up in a noted place. Terracotta. What's terracotta? Anything you make out of clay, write on that, engrave on that, and then you get it baked. The way you make bricks nowadays, burnt bricks you make. Burnt bricks. By baking it, you will be able to make the material very strong. So that is what is called as terracotta. Terracotta came into existence during the Indus period. In the Indus period, buildings, they started building with the help of burnt bricks. They came to know once you burn a brick made of clay, it becomes very strong. It becomes rock-like. Even today we construct buildings with the help of burnt bricks. We know they are very strong. They may be 3-storied, 4-storied. We use them. They portray achievements of the then rulers. This is how it is ruled. Rulers who ruled then. How do you put it? The then rulers, whoever ruled then. In order to remember their achievements, we have to see all these engravings. They portray, portfolio or a passport photograph. You pass it on from one generation to the other generation with the help of that. It portrays achievements of the then rulers. Some examples. Ashoka, after the Kalinga war, he became a Buddhist. He becomes a monk. He had kings elsewhere not to fight wars. Wars are a waste of time. They destroy people, they destroy animals, they destroy property. Wars are not to be fought. Buddha's way, Gautam Buddha's way is the right way. So Gautam Buddha becomes the icon of Ashoka. And Ashoka starts spreading the message of Ashoka. Ashoka started spreading the message of great Buddha everywhere. China, Japan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Ceylon, Burma. He sends his ambassadors, and everywhere he starts putting up huge edicts, inscriptions on rock. You get it engraved. How should people live? What should be spirit? What should be the way we should go ahead with our daily routines? What should be our relation with other people? All these are inscribed on rock by Ashoka. Thousands of such edicts were put up. People should read and understand and follow the new path of life, he said. He was taken aback seeing lakhs of people dying on the war field of Kalinga. Should I kill so many to become a great king? He undergoes a transformation. He gives up all his ornaments, royal robes, leaves even the shoes he was wearing, and with the saffron cloth on his body, he starts leading a very, very simple life. He won't have even footwear there afterwards. He walks barefooted. He always feels, I have made a great sin. At least I should be able to guide the society well here afterwards. That's how Ashoka has become great for us. Some do wonder, one who has fought a war, how can you consider him great? He has undergone transformation, total transformation. The Ashoka you see after Kalinga war is not the Ashoka what you see before that. A great king who ruled the entire country undergoing transformation. There was no reason otherwise. He could have continued ruling. He had killed his own brothers even to ascend the throne. He was a cruel Ashoka to begin with, but later he was Saint Ashoka. So what is truth gets revealed by Ashoka to the world. Okay, Immadi Pulakeshi's Ayuhale inscription, one of Karnataka. Even Ashoka has his edicts in Karnataka. In Karnataka, in Doddapallapur, you have Ashoka's edict. Even in Harapanelli, that area, you find some edicts. Immadi Pulakeshi's Ayuhole inscription. If you go to Pattadakallu, Badami, Ayuhole, you see lots of inscriptions on rock there. They all carry some message to the people. Come to the next, coins. Helpful in understanding the extent of ruler's kingdom. I told you in connection with this, I don't repeat now. Extent of the kingdom, knowing the language of administration by reading whatever is written here on the coin, you can make out what language did the king have as the administrative language. You get a proof. I said history is a matter of proof. Lots of proofs on the basis of which you have to write history. Then, knowing the language of administration, the economic conditions and metal technology of those days. Metal technology. How did they make the metal? See here, Samudragupta minted gold coins. You got the link here now. Samudragupta minted gold coins. That one fact, these golden coins, they speak 100 words about Samudragupta. Samudragupta, his kingdom was a wealthy one. How do you say? Gold coins were there. For trade and commerce, people exchanged gold coins. Monuments, inscriptions, coins. What is inscribed is inscription. Coins were used for trade and commerce. Monuments, the constructions, huge constructions then, which have become a record today for study purpose. Palaces, temples, forts and pillars. Example, Mehraul's iron pillar. It is of that period, ancient period. You have it in House Khas of Delhi. House Khas. Near Qutub Minar, you have the iron pillar. It's almost this girth in size. This girth in size. You will not be able to hold it in your two hands. Even after 2000 years, the iron pole has not got rusted. You can make out what all things they must have added while taking up metallurgy, making that pillar. And they have a lot of inscriptions on that pillar. People just stand in front of it, touch it, see it, and just get amazed. The rods we purchase from the market within 3 years or 4 years, they start getting rusted. We are in an advanced age of science. That iron pillar of those days still stands the test of time. It has not got rusted. It tells about the skill they had. Iron pillar. Vijayapura's whispering gold gumbas. Bijapura. We call it Vijayapura today. Name has got changed. Vijayapura's whispering gold gumbas. Within the gold gumbas, you go and stand and whisper something, it gets heard at the different pillars there. It gets just reflected, sound waves get reflected, and at different points you can hear it very clearly. So acoustics part is something. Acoustics is sound, science of sound. It has reached its eminence in building gold gumbas of Bijapur. It was built by Adil Shah. A few examples I am giving here. Then you have Shah Jahan's Taj Mahal, a great monument, one of the 7 wonders of the world, Taj Mahal. Ranakumbha's Vijay Stamba. In order to celebrate a war, Ranakumbha builds Vijay Stamba at Chittor, Rajasthan. People go there just to see and enjoy the beauty of that Vijay Stamba. He built it in memory of a war he had won. Then pictures and engravings of Ellora and Ajanta, Ellora caves, they are very famous. Temples of Aihole and Pattadakallu. Beautiful carvings, beautiful structures. The building designs, the constructions, everything makes us wonder about the skill of our ancestors, makes us proud about our nation. Okay, other ruins. What are the other ruins? Your terracotta ruins you get in huge quantities. In the Indus Valley civilization they have been able to collect. Even the toys children played, they were being made of clay and they used to get them burnt later. They don't break. Say a cart with bullocks, all such, even today we make terracotta items are quite famous in the rural areas. People, when they have free time, in order to just enjoy the skill of it, they prepare. You too can make some terracotta items during your free time. Bring some sticky clay and start making small toys. Once then you get them burnt. Even otherwise they stand. If you burn them, they become almost permanent. Then you can either paint or you can just leave them to their accord. They have their own beauty, their own, that black and red, that beauty they will have. The tiles we use for building houses, tiles for roof we use, no, it's terracotta. You mold, you take the mold and you bake them. Once you bake, you have very good tiles which don't allow even a drop of water to penetrate through. Terracotta bangles, the sense of beauty and jewelry, bangles, beads, seals. Seals are symbolic of the person who uses them. His seal, at the end of the letter you put the seal. Okay, now we come to the last part of this lesson. A very important aspect. I told you at the beginning, science has contributed a lot to history today, to our understandings of the past. Science has contributed its might. What is it, you may ask? It is one example we take. There are many. One key example we take. All of you should understand it very well. You will feel proud about science. That is carbon-14 dating. Carbon-14 dating. Today, science has enabled us to find out the age of any monument, age of any terracotta item, age of a bead, age of a rock structure, anything you can find out the exact time or age of that particular monument with the help of carbon-14 dating. Dating, you know, fixing the date. Knowing the age is dating. Carbon-14, carbon is an element. 14 is isotope. Sometimes the same element will be in different forms, having different isotopes. One single element, carbon, stays in different forms. Diamond is also carbon. Charcoal is also carbon. Charcoal. You know charcoal. It's also carbon. Diamond is also carbon. Diamond costs in lakhs and crores. Diamonds. Kohinoor diamond. That's also charcoal. Carbon. If you put it in fire, it turns into carbon. It catches fire. It turns into carbon. Now, carbon-14 is one isotope. Carbon-12 is another isotope. Now, when carbon gets formed, carbon-14 and carbon-12 will be in equal proportion. 1:1. When a rock has got formed, there will be carbon. Carbon 12 isotope 2 will be there. Carbon 14 isotope 2 will be there. The mass of both these will be one and the same. But carbon 14 is a radioactive element. Carbon 12 is not. I think you are following me. Carbon 14 is radioactive. What do you mean by radioactive? It gives out special rays. It releases energy all the time. Carbon 14 is proactive. Radioactive elements you can't keep in your possession. Radium is radioactive. Thorium is radioactive. Actinium is radioactive. They are all radioactive. Even radium in your watches, in the night you can read the figures. Nowadays people don't use because they know that it has ill effect on our body. You can't have alarm clocks with radium smeared on them by the side of your bed. To get up early in the morning, they used to have timepieces with radium smearing. Now science says don't use them. These radioactive elements give out energy all the time. As they give out energy, their mass gets reduced to half over a period of time. Carbon 14 is a radioactive element. Its mass gets reduced to half in a period of 5,700 years. This period differs from element to element. In 5,700 years, so much of element will get reduced to half of it. But carbon 12 remains as it is. Why? It is not radioactive. Goes cool about it. It stays as it is. So now, when they have to decide the age of some material, they take a small part of that material and find out how much of C12 is there, how much of C14 is there. They find out the ratio between the two, because C14 goes on getting reduced. C12 remains as it is. Find out the ratio, you come to know the age of that monument. How many years ago this got formed? In the Indus Valley civilization, every piece of data they get as proof, they subject it to radioactivity study. They come to know 6,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, machines are there to find out. They come to know what it is. We'll just go through the text here. Carbon 14 dating enables to get the exact period of the source. If you get a book, even book made out of palm leaves, you can find out in which particular year this palm leaf book was produced. From the C14 and C12 elements there in the material, a small bit is enough to find out. Machines find them out. Example, trees. See, there is a tree. There are trees on the highway between Delhi and Kolkata. Those trees were planted when Akbar was ruling India, nearly 450-500 years over. Even today, those hefty trees are standing there. How do we know Akbar planted them? We didn't have photography then. They take a small bit of that tree, subject it to experiment in the lab. They come to know this plant was sowed when Akbar was ruling. They take samples from different trees. When they all give the same result, it is ensured and established that they were planted when Mughals were ruling India. This science is wonderful. Birds. You get the dead body of a bird. Maybe the flesh is already decayed. Bones are there. From the bones, take a small part, check it. You come to know whether it's 5,000 years old, 10,000 years old, 15,000 years old. So anything that you get as a fossil will be able to determine the period when it got formed. Trees, birds, plants, animals. C14 is radioactive carbon. in every being, C14 and C12 will be in equal amounts after death of the organism. This pertains only to the living organisms as they die. C14 starts losing volume. By estimating the levels C14 and C12, we can get the exact date of the specimen. This is called as carbon dating. Carbon dating has given a big push to history. Till carbon dating was found out, people did not have the right proof to tell this belonged to this period, this belonged to that period. Now, scientific proof has come as a big strength to history. Anything carbon dating proves is considered as absolutely true from the angle of study, from the point of view of study. So, the sources of history are very important nowadays. History, I told you, is not a cock and bull story. To tell even a single sentence on a king or some rule, you need evidence, you need proof. Research scholars are after proofs and evidences to establish their point of view with regard to history. Read the lesson well. Now, before I conclude, we have some pictures here which will consolidate what you have learnt. Here you have ancient Greek coins. These are not of Gupta period. These are Greek coins. See, engravings there. Here Alexander's picture is there. The Greeks, they were constant visitors to India. Greeks have learnt a lot from India. Indians have learnt a lot from Greece. There was a lot of exchange between Greeks and Mauryas. Mauryas who ruled India. When Chandragupta Maurya was ruling, Chanakya was there. Greeks had come to India. Even marital exchanges were there. The daughters of the Greeks, they were being given in wedding to Indian kings here to establish good relationship. In order to have a peace accord, usually they used to bank on a marital relationship that will ascertain that no future invasion will be there. Because their daughter is in this kingdom, in this court, they always think in terms of well-being of the other. Ancient Greek coins, here terracotta figures, I told you toys, you have pottery here, you have engraving here, you have again beautiful items made out of terracotta. These are from Indus Valley. This is the first civilization we find in India. Then you have Samaveda, Rigveda, Yajurveda and Atharva Veda, the four important Vedas which were composed by rishis in the depths of the forest, sitting in penance, thinking about the nether world, and they used to write in praise of the nature around. These Vedas are great. All the four ancient Vedas, they were written, the copies are got, they were being copied even. They used to be script writers. They used to make copies of it, everything by writing. Now, on palm leaves, the copies were being made. Palm leaves, paper was not there, palm leaves were being used then. They had the art, the method of taking palm leaves, getting them dried up. They had a course for that, and these palm leaves will be neatly cut, and that was being used for writing. But after paper was discovered, invented, palm leaves had the exit. Then monuments of Ajanta caves. Ajanta and Ellora caves are magnificent caves which speak about the ancient past. So Ajanta caves here, temples are there, puja, worship is not going on because they are in total disarray. The government of India is looking after, a lot of tourists come in order to see the beauty of these, the gorgeous engravings there, they study. Here you have stone inscription. It's a Kannada inscription of the 12th century, Karnataka. If you go close and study these, you find Kannada words. But the script is a bit different. It's not the normal script what we use. because they undergo change century after century, and now it has come to the right form now. Then here Kautilya's Arthashastra, the manuscript is here, got from the Mauryan palaces. See, all the palm leaves, they are strung together they are strung together. So you go on opening leaf by leaf and reading. Arthashastra, I told you, even today it has not lost its prominence. Then Sun Temple, Konark, a beautiful temple in Odisha, Sun Temple. Hardly there are temples for sun, but here you have a gorgeous temple for the sun god. It's a beautiful temple. It is in Konark. Then the Harappan seals, Indus Valley and Harappa, it's all in the Indus Valley, Indus tract. The seals that they were using, these seals were being used to make lots of such molds made. You have to get the seal made. You fill up with clay, remove it, you get an imprint. Then correct it, color it, and it can be ready for any exchange or whatever it be. And even the king may use them or for trade. Harappan seals. Seal is an imprint. Seal, even today seals are being used in offices. It's an imprint to establish something. To establish the official power, you use the seal. Seals can be used even as a toy. Children may use a seal to make a number of molds of the same. That's also seal. Thank you, children.